Hello, thank you for joining us for our session today. And it's a really great session because I first met Katie Brindle before lockdown, but I'm sure some of you have followed her during lockdown. But Katie is somebody who, if I've thought of a like-minded woman who believed that the flow of energy is the most important thing you can have to make everything work and be possible in your life, it would be Katie Brindle. And Katie is the founder of the Hayo'u Method, which is a method of using Chinese acupuncture and Chinese Qi and all these complicated names I'm not very good at, but I understand what they do. And she's going to tell us a little bit more about it. But also amazing tools, and I use her gui sha tools, and I use her tapping tool, which I adore, and she's introduced a new tool which looks really weird and does fantastic things for releasing tension. So please give it up for Katie Brindle. Welcome, my darling. It's very nice to see you. And we have, been. I think one of my funniest moments during lockdown was when we did laughter therapy with Katie, and we were just probably at our flattest, and it was just so incredible release. So we might be doing that at the end. This is going to be a very interactive session. So I'm going to chat to you a bit, but then we're going to get Katie to do some things with us, so we can leave feeling the impact of doing that in your life, so you can then think, maybe I'll do it tomorrow again. But darling, I want to talk to you about energy.
Yes.
And why is it so important that we have it, and how do we get it?
Right. Well, energy is the absolute origin of Chinese medicine because we call it qi, or life force. And you know when you don't have energy because you feel tired. So it's the fundamental thing that we notice when the body isn't healthy. So everything about what I kind of came to promoting on Instagram and things was all about just getting people back to the basics of their healthcare, which is energy. And energy just flows like circulation. Now, the interesting thing is in Western medicine, which is absolutely brilliant, of course, but the origin of Western medicine was that they developed it off dead bodies. So there was no life force because they were dead. So they didn't see it. So the great thing about the 21st century is, I think, because we've got our heads around Wi-Fi and the fact that something can be invisible and yet there, I think we're all starting to get on the bandwagon going, actually, there is something that we can do about that. And the key thing for energy is you just have to move it. That's all. And that's why Qigong and Gua Sha and tapping and breathing and laughing and stretching is all these wonderful techniques which are cheap or free, and they only take a minute, a bit like brushing your teeth, which will immediately pick you up with energy straight away.
Do you think that we have to hit a rock bottom before we're prepared to do things around this?
I'd like to think we shouldn't. You see, the Chinese they have loads of expressions, but one of them is a drop of prevention is a bucket of cure. So the best thing that you can do is get ahead, like you do with your teeth. We brush our teeth to prevent the plaque, to prevent the problem. So what we're doing with our bodies is we're not really doing that. We're sort of waiting until it gets so bad. We'll go, oh, it's nothing, and soldier on and think we're going to win some kind of martyr award, especially women like us. Women, what we call it the second spring, where we've got responsibilities and we just kind of soldier on. But the reality is that when it's harder to fix the body, like your teeth, when the problem's got established, when it's got a foothold.
Yeah.
So if energy is the origin of everything, then what you need to do is just work with it on a daily basis for 2 or 3 minutes a day, and you feel the benefit straight away, like brushing your teeth. That lovely sensation of brushing is lovely. So the movements that we'll do together today, you can feel them straight away. They have an instant benefit and a long-term benefit.
So how many of you feel you need a bit more energy in your life? Okay.
It's unanimous.
That's good. We've got lots of good stuff to work with. And I know for me what happens when I don't have energy. Lots of physical things actually happen. So one extreme thing is my mother had Alzheimer's, and I feel my memory, when I have no energy, my memory, my grasping for words and ways to communicate and say things depletes. So the worst time to have a row with your partner is when you have no energy, because you can't be the articulate person, say all the things that you've had in your head to propose your argument over something. So, also when I'm wanting to be at my most powerful as a woman and just, convey something, if I have the energy in it, it transmits. And I find that in the last few years, and listening to you a lot and working with you a lot, is the ability that even if somebody is 1,000 miles away, that we can talk on social media and we can transmit that energy. I do a meditation on a Friday with Joe Bobby, and I've done meditation with you, and we're going to do a great meditation today. But those things are really easy to bring to our life, and so often we forget we can do them, you know, and we can be sitting there feeling flat, and maybe the last thing that we think about doing is something for ourselves. So what I'd kind of have done, and I did this a bit with you, is we have a lovely lady called Sharon, who's a member of the Trinny tribe, and she has stage 4 breast cancer. And she did these little stickers, and one of them says, breathe, you know, and I put them on my computer, and I see that, and it reminds me, because sometimes if it's not visually written out there, so I would suggest, whatever one you feel, that's great, I'm going to do it at home, write it on a post-it note, stick it on your laptop or your bathroom cabinet, and whenever you're sort of putting your head up, and you think, that you can think, actually, let me do that. You know, because it's habit, isn't it?
It is, and also the thing that people don't realise is that breath is the number one income of energy into the body. People, when I talk about energy, because we're conditioned as 20th century thinkers, we always think about the physical. So we think, oh, it's food, I need to eat. But you only eat roughly 3 times a day, but you breathe 25,000...
Talk about yourself.
So yes, exactly. Sometimes
but I know where you're heading with this one, yeah.
But 25,000 times a day. And
25,000 times a day.
That's
you're staggering.
Breathing. I know, and this is why the Chinese masters have so many breathing exercises, because it's free, and in ancient China they didn't have a free NHS service to go to if there was a problem. You had to look at what was in the environment around you. I think the other thing that people are starting to realize is that, again, in the 20th century, we were brought up with the energy crisis, that there is a limit of energy. We were going to run out of energy. There was going to be a shortage. And the truth is it's not, because the Taoism, which is the root of all the things I talk about, is based on mankind's relationship to the natural world. And when you look at the natural world, it's this evolving ecosystem that just simply never stops. And the energy is merely circling around and around and around. So all you have to do as an individual is know the simple way to harness it through the breath. Just that's all you have to do. And once you've got your head around that, then all you need to do is just stretch it around the body. Breathing and stretching.
So should we start?
Yeah, shall we?
What are we going to start with?
Well, shall we start with the breath?
Let's start with the breath. Are you ready?
Okay. I'll calm us, and then I'll rev us all back up.
Everyone put down your
okay?
drinks. Drink some water if you've got it in front of you. If you're standing, just shake it all off a bit, you know. Okay. So we're going to sit like this.
We're just going to sit, sit
No
comfortably.
legs crossed.
No legs crossed.
Yeah.
Just
keep
relax.
them open. Yeah.
So what I'll do, Trinny, is we'll start by relaxing, and with the energy then in the body, with a bit more sort of, it's like charging up a mobile phone. This is like I'm going to charge you all up, and then I'm going to move you around, okay?
Okay, great.
Okay. All you do to start with is take your hands and place them on the lower belly. Now, the reason we're doing this is that this part of the body is called the dantian, and this is the energetic center of your body. So when you're doing a simple breathing technique, which is also meditation, you always want to take your attention down to this area because it just grounds you. So when you're holding it, you feel it, so you now know where you're going. So now if you'd like to close your eyes and just slowly breathe, just not worrying too much about how you're breathing, just breathe. And then all you simply do is just take your attention, your focus, and feel your hands. Just be aware of their presence on your lower belly. And now breathe down where your hands are gently clasped. And now smile on your lips like Mona Lisa. And imagine the same smile where you're breathing behind your hands. Notice how you feel. Are your cells tingling inside your body? Can you feel the breath caressing the nostrils? Aware of it coming in and out of the body. Amplify the goodness of the breath coming in. And release all negative frequencies as you breathe out. Just let go, creating space for the next inhalation. And when you're ready, just gently take the same focus back, up to behind your eyes. And slowly, when you're ready, blink your eyes and come back to the room. Just in these seconds from the breathing, just notice how you feel. That simple 1-minute exercise changes the energy from possibly exhausted yet restless, which is what a diseased body feels like, moving to relaxed yet energized, which is available to us all day just from breathing. Well, that's changed the energy of the room, hasn't it?
How nice was that? Isn't that great?
So that's a very simple, it's called the inner smile. It's the basic breathing exercise that we learn. Now with that, that's as if I've just plugged your body like a mobile phone into a charger. Yeah. So do you already feel a bit relaxed? Yes, but energized?
Yeah, when you said the one before of exhausted but restless, that was so like, how often do we feel like that, exhausted but restless? And it's that quietening and energy. It's those two incredibly contrasting things to the first two. And noticing that, I really noticed that. Well, did you all notice that? Yeah.
And the great thing about that is that you don't have to sit here like this or like this. You can be in a meeting, you can be on the tube, I do this driving the car with my children squabbling behind me. There's all hell breaking loose because I've got twins.
You don't close your eyes though, Katie.
No, obviously, no, because I'm driving. But no, it's like, gosh, now I've crashed the car. Right, but it's a very simple exercise. Again, like brushing your teeth, that you can just hook that into what you're doing. It's a multitasker. If you're really exhausted, one of the most important things is to know that just doing that little exercise at some point between 3 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon, which is when the energy of the body is depleted. It's the kidney time, and they need extra energy. That's why you feel tired often at that time of day. So just that little exercise, even if you're on a Zoom call or in a meeting, you can just keep your eyes open. You can put your hands there or not, or just breathing slowly down, and that will immediately charge up the body before you have to physically do anything at all.
I love that one. That's a good one. We're going to remember that one. Okay, what are we going to learn next?
Well, now I've calmed everyone down and I've given everyone a charge. The next step is to stretch. Okay. So when I'm looking at creating energy, it literally is breathing and stretching. That is what it boils down to. So the Taoist masters have always said, if you want to understand humans, you should always study animals. Now, interestingly, animals, you will notice, when they've been sort of flopped out, and you go, come on, let's go for a walk. They go, oh, and they sort of get up, they go, stretch, and have a little shake, and then off. And you think, oh, come on, Fidel, can we get going? So that's what we're going to do now. Okay. So perhaps if we stand.
Stand up. Okay, great.
Now, the simplest one, and I'm all for simplicity, is the shake. So all you do is just shake the body, okay? Just breathe. Hook into the fact you've done all that lovely breathing already, so you've already got nice energy in the body. And it's quite good to kind of vibrate the legs like this. And you can be silly, it's good.
That's so good.
And you can shake above the head if you want. You can do a little bit of a dance. You can also do a spine shake, which is this one here. So you can slightly draw the tummy in.
Oh, like that.
And whilst you're shaking your spine, smile into it. Smile into your body. Okay, that Chinese inner smile that we were doing. Smile into the spine. Smile into yourself. Right, now just hands, stop for 1 sec.
Oh, that's good.
Right, how do you feel?
So energized.
How good is that?
I mean, so like I've got a head rush.
Yes.
How do you feel? Yeah? Isn't that great?
Isn't
and everyone working here too, they work so hard. Does that feel good? You need that release. You're standing all day crouching over these lovely ladies. And yeah, it's fantastic.
Now, how simple is that?
So simple.
Right, now but why? Why is it working? Because inside each cell of your body...
Can they sit down again?
Yeah, we can all sit down. Sorry, it's like, and you may be seated, right?
Yeah, come closer. Yeah.
Inside every single body, there is roughly 3 trillion cells. That's what we're all made up of, everything. Skin cells, hair cells, interior cells, cells you'll never see. So in these 3 trillion cells, there's the helix, and that's where the quantum physicists come in, and this is where ancient practices and modern physics and modern science is all kind of like saying the same thing. So basically, the helix is like what we call the swimming dragon, which we'll do in a sec, which is simply, it's going boom, 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 and that's the energy. in your body. Now, when we're over sedentary or stressed, which we all are, what happens is instead of the helixes going like this, which is what they're doing now, so you can feel them,
Vibration of them, yeah.
So when we sort of sat like that, they start flatlining, and then they just kind of go, bleh. They're a bit like, on the desks, you used to have those ball things that you'd pull them out, and they go clack, 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 and eventually they stop. Right, that's what's going on inside your cells. So what the masters recognized thousands of years ago was that when people had been sort of, doing their versions of stressful lives, that if they just sat around the fire doing nothing, they'd feel more tired and more ill than if they actually did a sequence of very specific stretching and breathing exercises which made them feel better and more energized, which is the first one we've just done. Yeah. Because you're revving the helixes up, and then when the helixes are moving, then the river of energy, because they describe it like water, flows through the body. Yeah. And that then takes you, if it's not flowing, that is the origin of dis-ease, which I'm saying with a hyphen on purpose. Yeah. Because the idea is that if energy stagnates, that's the problem. They say stagnation is death. Now, that's a bit melodramatic because we've got NHS now. But in the old days, it was. Because if the energy wasn't flowing smoothly around the body, you would not feel well. Now, that is really where I pulled that into the 21st century, going, well, this is the problem, because a lot of us, we're not ill, but we're not well. We're sort of in this sort of interim. We've got low-level things that you wouldn't bother your GP with. For example, a bit of period pain. Not badly. When it gets bad, you do go to the doctors. But before that, sort of bad sleep or bad skin or bad hair or fatigue or irritability or PMS or sort of a bit of cellulite that you can't get rid of that annoys you. These sorts of things that start to make you feel less than 100%. And that's what these techniques are all about, making you feel like that. And you just have to get the circulation flowing.
Flow the energy. So, our next one.
Okay, so the next one, let me see. I think we should do swimming dragon, which is my favorite Qigong exercise. So we'd all need a little bit of room. Just give yourself a little bit of stretch.
Yeah, give yourself a little space.
The swimming dragon is one of those Qigong exercises. Now, Qigong is like yoga, basically. It's the yoga no one's heard of, but they will hear about it soon because it's coming, okay? Yeah. It's ancient and it's just as brilliant as yoga. It's just because of geopolitics, no one knew anything about it. So like yoga, there are certain stretches like sun salutation that kind of, if you don't know anything else, just do that and that will do the trick. Yeah. So this is the same thing. So the swimming dragon is all about replicating this helix, which is in your cells, i.e. there's 3 trillion of them, in one giant great move that's going to basically make the entire body does one entire helix, so that every tiny little cell inside your body copies it. And so you've got the energy. So what we're going to do is keep your thumbs by your index fingers because you want to open the lung channel. And now we just breathe, feet together, breathe in and stretch. Now feel like you're opening. Breathing in deeply, hands into prayer, and crossing the thumbs so that they look like that, so that that's the lung channel engaged. And then just bring the hands down, gently pull your tummy in so you feel nice and strong. Pull them into prayer, arms out, so try and sort of biff your neighbor with your elbows if you can. And now, what we're going to do is you stretch your hip one side and your fingertips the other. So you're creating like an S. There we go. And just look to your fingertips, tummy's in, and now swirl it the other way, like you're making a snake, basically. That's it. And tummy's in, and then we just slowly go down, breathing in, starting to be aware of your body, be aware of the muscles in your back, in your spine. If you can, go all the way down. If you've got limitations of movement, just stay around the tummy. And what you should notice as you're going down, hips to one side, following the pressed hands in prayer to the other, is you're making one giant circuit, which is relaxing yet energizing, and moving all the way up. Are we all right? Has everyone got enough room? Now, when you get to the top, you want to just, if you can, stretch up onto tiptoes, and then down you come, pulling the hands down again. Should we do that one more time?
Yeah.
We all right? It's really good. Okay, so breathing deeply.
Are we pushing our hands together a bit?
Yes.
Okay.
So now we're getting the hang of it. Tummy's in. Start to feel that you're creating S shapes in the body, because that's the helix. And that's what we're after. Now, this is a very slow, considered movement. I think the thing about Qigong, which is really, Qigong means life force practice or energy practice. So it's the absolute mother of energy. If you want energy, do Qigong. And what it's doing is it's just allowing the cells to release the toxicity that gets stuck there because they're not flowing properly. It allows the circulation of energy and blood to move freely around the body. And it does another thing as well, which people don't even realize they need to know, which is it strengthens your 5 key organs, which are the origin of your health. Now, that's something that people don't even know that bit. Circulation, like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Cells purging and nourishing.
Is it because we're stretching them? Why is it that it's... What are the 5... The 5 key organs, what are they first? Sorry.
Okay, the 5 key... Does everyone want to sit down before I go?
Yes,
so how does that feel, by the way? Before I go into the next bit.
Yeah, how does that feel? It's good, isn't it? Yeah, it's really like...
Yes.
Yeah.
So you feel like you've worked out. You feel like you've had exercise, but you've not been straining. So it's the opposite of this all strain, no gain. So was it all gain, no... All pain, no gain.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. Anyway, it's the opposite of that. So... In order for the body to be healthy, one, you need energy and you need circulation, which we've just discussed. And everyone recognizes that. We know that one, we're just not doing it really. The second thing is your cells need to purge and nourish all day long. That's what they're doing. They're like jellyfish going like this. And if you're too stagnant and the circulation's not moving, they then get toxic. And that's the next origin of disease. That's when you start to get sort of deeper conditions. The third thing that no one even knew in the West, which I was like, how do we not know this? But I didn't either, is the 5 key organs in Chinese medicine control everything in your body, okay? Now, they are the heart, well, we know that one, but you also have the lungs, the liver, the kidneys, and the spleen. Now, the spleen is a bit of a weird translation for us. Just call it the digestion is probably an easy way, because it's a symbol being...
They don't include the brain.
The brain is nothing to do with it. So when you're talking about Alzheimer's, immediately I'm like, kidneys. And then you're talking about energy, and I'm like, kidneys. And then we're talking about menopausal ladies, and I'm like, kidneys. So in our medicine, everything boils down to one or more of those 5 key organs. And the minute you know that, then you can locate the symptom into its organ and treat it through self-care, i.e. qigong, or tapping, or drumming, or gua sha, or whatever it is. It's half of the problem, or half of the solution, should I say, is understanding what created the problem in the first place. Where is it originating? So, for example, if you're talking about your grandmother with Alzheimer's, was it your
my mother?
Sorry. What's likely to be the case is kidney deficiency on some level, which is likely because the kidneys are responsible for our energy. They're called the ministers of power. Okay, so they're responsible for fertility, the aging process, the bones, the memory, the willpower, and fear, and above all, the virtue of the kidneys is wisdom. So there's all these really beautiful transcendent emotions that you can attach, and this is where it gets beautiful, that you can heal the physical body with spirituality and high virtue and understanding the nature of cellular activity, and vice versa. You can develop your spirit by having a healthy body. This is why it's such a beautiful thing to understand, because you can treat in so many ways.
I mean, it's a big leap of faith when you're used to taking a pill for something.
Yes.
And so when you talk about the kidneys being responsible for so much, there's a part of me that thinks, so what do I do for the kidneys? But what, in a way, you're suggesting, I think you're suggesting, Katie, is that sense that get the flow, and it's things you don't see that get the energy moving again, that get your kidneys to be healthy, that give you the health in those areas.
It's the understanding of the metaphysical and the physical. And the great thing about the 21st century is we now understand that. You see, in the past, your physical body was owned by king and country, and your spiritual body was owned by God, and therefore religion would dictate what your king and your religion dictated everything in terms of your life. Now, that disseminated in the 20th century largely, and it hasn't completely, but it has to a certain extent. So now in the 21st century, you're finding people are very open to exploring many, many different versions of truth and many different ways of treating things, looking from different cultures and different aspects. And that's really, I think, why Chinese medicine, the Yang Sheng, which is self-care, that I love so much, is, I think, now finally kind of getting its moment. Because it's got a really beautiful philosophical explanation for something that makes sense to us, because we're used to Wi-Fi. Things can be invisible now, and yet they can appear, right? Like an email. It's like orbiting around this room, and then it'll be in my phone later.
It's just shifting just broadening your thought process as to what are you prepared to think can change how you feel. It's fantastic. Okay. What are we going to end on?
Well, is it laughter time?
It could be laughter time. First of all, should we do a couple of, if you've got some questions for Katie?
I'm interested to ask whether you, say, drink water, warm water, cold water, because the Chinese very rarely drink really chilled water.
Yes. So, what a great question. Ice is for dead people in Chinese medicine, so we don't use ice at all. So I know, so don't worry.
Ice is for dead people. My God, I love that.
I know. They have So don't worry, everybody. No one's going to die. But in fairness, this medicine this originated thousands of years ago when, they have an expression for everything. But what they're trying to say is that water should be, everything in the body should be consumed at room temperature at the least, and preferably warm, because in our medicine, the stomach is like a bubbling cauldron, like going bloop, 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 like this. If you start whacking in cold things, the body has to heat back up.
In order to then digest it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the equivalent of putting hot soup in the fridge, and you'll notice your fridge going, like this, trying to kind of deal with it. The body's doing the same. So if we're, say, menopausal, for example, and dealing with heat in the body, which is one of the symptoms, then we start sort of drinking cold water and ice drinks to cool ourselves down. It's going to have the opposite effect. So because we understand energy, food and beverages all have energetic qualities to them. So there are certain foods which are cooling in nature, like cucumber, and certain foods which are warming in nature, like ginger. Okay, and then you can fuse them together, because the thing is, nature is full of adaptogens. So the body is so clever that you can have a mixed condition. You can put cucumber and ginger in the same thing and do the same thing at the same time. It's quite remarkable. So
room temperature.
Room temperature is the quick answer.
Room temperature. I love it. Yes, at the back there. Yeah.
I have a weird question. I hope that it will make sense.
Nothing's weird here.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I'm reading this book, which is called The Untethered Soul. And I have been following Trinny for a couple of years, and I absolutely love the meditations. But sometimes, so in that book, they talk about this inner roommate. And it's sort of when we were doing the breathing exercise, you were talking about, think about how the breath is caressing your nostrils. And I'm thinking, I've got hairs in these nostrils. Of course, it's caressing them. So the point I'm trying to make is, what would you recommend that we shut that inner voice? Because that inner voice is like a roommate in my head that is constantly fighting against the things that I actually want to feel happy, but it's actually stopping me from doing that. So how do I shut this up and just start ignoring it? Because you wouldn't have somebody with that same person right next to you and constantly talking to yourself.
We know this so well. It's a very good question.
Yeah, it's a really good question, because most of us have that, especially in this day and age, because there's just so much stuff being thrown at us. And the origin of marketing is to kind of make you feel inadequate so that you buy something. And really, I mean, it's like, well, you need this, because otherwise then that solves your problem. So the Taoist masters have great explanations for this, because, you see, we as women largely born in the 20th century were born into the sort of the end of the patriarchal system, whereby everything was yang, because it was male, okay? So the energy looked a bit like this. We're like this, going, oh my God, go faster, go faster. And then it creates negative energy in the body. Now, the age of the divine feminine, which we are now in the 21st century, is more like this. I laugh and go, it's like Tales of the Unexpected. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember so well, Roald Dahl, yeah.
Right, so this is all about yielding. Okay, so what the Taoist masters talk about is not shutting things off. That's male paradigm. It's like, well, how? What you do is you yield and you transcend, because that's yin, and we are yin. We are women, and we're in the 21st century age of the divine feminine.
There's a few men here. Just a few. What? But anyway, we are generally...
Okay, we are sorry.
You need to include them for something.
I'm so sorry. We are nonetheless in the age of the divine feminine. That is an astrological fact, if that's actually allowed to be said. But anyway, it's my belief. So the idea is that we transcend. So that we don't shut down, we transcend. So, for example, we call them the 5 evils. And again, they're attached to the organs, because the organs control everything. So if you have a negative voice in your body, it's likely to be the liver, which is responding to anger, frustration, resentment. Because that's normally what the internal dialogue is. Who do you think you are? Why are you thinking like that? Why do you're not allowed to have this lovely feeling. So the transcended state for the liver is kindness, compassion, and forgiveness. Now, that's so beautiful, because that then allows you to stop thinking, I must not think like that. And actually, you just immediately switch your energy frequency to a higher virtuous energy, which has a higher resonance to it and is more pleasant on the body. So probably for you, the first thing is to forgive. And when I do the Qigong class on Hayo'u Fit, that's one of the things that I teach pretty much every week, which is never mind everybody else. Never mind what they've done to you. They've gone off and they've gone. They're doing whatever they're doing. They probably don't even realize what they've done. Forgive yourself first. So just forgive, and then just going into laughter, laugh. Because really, I mean, you can't take it too seriously, can you? Because you've just got
How
to
do you feel
transcend.
too, Katie, that I sometimes also another line of thought, but I love this one, is that our thoughts are not us, you know, and there is that big separation. So when I've just been given the other Tethered Soul actually to read, but it's also that thing, that's actually not me. That's this little crow on my head. So I love you, but you can just go to sleep now, you know. But there's a bit of that when I have that voice in my head as well. Because sometimes the hardest thing to do is like, okay, I'm going to ask you another thing. How, if we find it very hard to forgive ourselves, because sometimes women do, and I'm going to put this to women, how can we do that?
Forgive ourselves?
Yeah.
Well, I would teach it through the body. And again, as I said earlier, this is how you can treat the spirit with the body and the body with the spirit. And this is why working with the physical and the metaphysical works, because you can orbit between the two. So the easiest way to move that lack of forgiveness is through moving the body, because it's rooted in the liver, and the liver is responsible for the free flow of qi and blood around the body, i.e. it's responsible for things happening properly, making the trains run on time. And you're normally having that little voice or feeling that you can't forgive yourself because the energy is blocked somewhere in the body, and therefore you can't just, it's there, and you can feel it. You can. So what we do in the class, this is where we do Qigong, is that we practice moving the body. For example, what we've just done with the shaking and the swimming dragon, you're immediately moving the liver energy around the body, which means then it's not building up. That kind of lack of forgiveness is a bit like looking at a river where a tree's fallen over it, and you can see the sort of scummy waters backing up behind it, and it just needs someone to take the tree away, and then the river will flow. And then you'll find that your emotions will feel much more harmonious, much more balanced, and you will be in charge, rather than sort of feeling perhaps like your inner child is almost like this sort of wanton 2-year-old that you can't control. Yeah. Whereas all these techniques, which are really moving the body in the right way, are about ensuring that your physical, spiritual, and emotional bodies are all in harmony, and then you will feel good, relaxed, yet energized.
You going to try that? Yeah. It's great. Another question?
You were saying about the importance of the organs. I was born with kidney defects, so I've had to have surgeries to remove and repair. How or what is your advice for sort of managing when something isn't functioning to its optimal or you don't have it?
So another brilliant question, because many people have their spleen removed as well, or they've got like one lung and things like that, or they've had heart problems. Luckily, the body has got these, well, it's got 12 organs in total, but the 5 are the big ones, right? But all of those organs have channels. They're called meridians that flow all over the body like a kind of train network. So if the actual organ itself, which is a bit like the train master, isn't quite there for various reasons, then you've still got the entire network system that will strengthen it back up. And like a train system, all of the organs generate and control each other in what we call the generating or the controlling cycles. So you can strengthen one organ via strengthening another, and then there's connection points that you can transfer the energy from one organ to another. Now, obviously, acupuncturists, like we are trained to an inch of our life to know all of the complexities of that. But when I'm teaching self-care, it's a bit like with you, we use our expertise to go, oh, you can short-circuit all of that, and if you just press here, that's going to do the trick. There are certain key points in your body that if you stimulate them, either with a gua sha tool or you know, the end of a toothbrush or a chopstick or a thumb, that you can start stimulating key energy points, and you breathe, because you can restore the energy from the breath.
Okay, thank you. Great. Should we now do some laughter therapy? Are we ready? Okay, so what are we going to do, Katie?
Well,
are we going to stand up for this, or are we going to...
Well, shall I just explain why?
Yes, let's explain why. That's the most important thing.
Because I always find with people that the best thing is if you understand why you're doing something, it makes it more powerful. So if we just sort of brushed our teeth, you'd be just like, oh, I'm brushing my teeth. Why? Well, I don't know. My mum told me I had to do it. Versus, I do this because it takes with the plaque and it does this and it does that. So we're engaged. So laughter therapy, according to the Grandmaster Mantak Chia, who I urge everyone to follow because he's amazing, he basically said that out of all of the thousands and thousands of breathing techniques in Taoism, of which there really are thousands, laughter is the best one. So great. Forget all the others, just do this. And the thing about laughter is if you laugh for 1 minute a day, you strengthen the immune system for 24 hours.
Incredible.
So it's such a great thing in this day and age when we're dealing with all the things we have to cope with. Like strong immune systems, really important. So you only have to laugh for a minute. It has all these other benefits as well. Aside from the fact it strengthens the immune system, it massively stimulates the happy hormones inside the body, stimulates lymphatic flow, stimulates intake of oxygen into the body, stimulates the strengthening of the lungs, which are all responsible for all of that in the first place, and genuinely makes you feel really good. And what I've learned, I started doing this with my community at the beginning of lockdown, and then we picked it up, and now lots of people are doing it.
Yeah.
And we've now, therefore, been doing it religiously for 2 years. I laugh for a minute every single day. And I have noticed on my own experiment that after 2 years of this, I am much nicer, much funnier. I find everything funny now. I mean, I laugh at everything. And literally, I'm watching some old episode of Friends. I'm going, oh, like this, and my kids are like, oh, God, Mom. But again, 20th century ladies, we've sort of I personally picked up the fashion industry long ago, not now, but then when you sort of have to, you want to look cool and you want to look like this, oh, I'm really miserable, as opposed to now I'm like beaming away at everything, because it's just, life just feels a bit sweeter.
Yeah.
So it's a really good technique to do.
And lift your cheekbones. What the hell?
Yes, it's just great.
Okay, so are we going to stand or sit for this?
I think we should stand,
Okay,
if that's
great.
okay. Now, I think Chloe very kindly. So when I do this on my, I do a live on a Tuesday and Thursday, and I have Meditate with Kelly, I'm going to say, because she's been loyal every day for 2 years, timing us for a minute. Now, normally Catherine gives us a joke, but I forgot, sorry.
Yeah,
so what we do is I'm going to start laughing, you will all start laughing at me, okay, and then you're just going to, it becomes infectious, okay? So, ready, steady.
I mean,
Oh my God.
I'm just about to pass out, I tell you. My God.
Oh
Okay.
my God. Now, how
do we feel? How do we feel?
Isn't
It's
that
so good,
amazing?
huh? So good, like so wow. Wow. And I do it by myself now, and I have Charles downstairs. The first few days, he literally was like, texting, what is going on upstairs, And now he just knows it's the cackle time. But it is amazing, Katie.
It's
and,
so good for you.
And I can't thank you enough for coming today and giving your wisdom. And Katie has the most amazing book. And Katie Brindle on Instagram, and Hayo'u Fit and Hayo'u Method,
Yeah.
and everything is there. And if you haven't met Katie before today, go and look at it all, because it will just enhance your life so much. So give it up for Katie.
Oh, thank you so much.
Fabulous. So
Thank
fabulous.
you.